Good morning.
Good morning.
A happy Valentine's Day.
Happy
Love is
Valentine's Day to you.
love is literally is in the air today. And the weather here in Southern California is absolutely perfect. Sunshine. It's just a perfect backdrop for an outings for your loved ones. Whether you're planning a romantic picnic or a big stroll or intimate dinner, the weather is on your side today.
That's fabulous. It's actually pretty sunny here too. It's still chilly, but it's sunny.
Right. Well, welcome to WellDoctors.us live. I'm Dr. Andrea Lee, and along with me is Dr. Stephanie Ardrey, your guide through the world of personal finance. Whether you are a seasoned investor or just starting out your financial journey, this show is designed to empower you with practical tips, expert advice, and actionable strategies.
So today we have a great topic. We're going to continue our conversations. Last week we had a wonderful conversation. And so today we're going to talk about 401ks and the benefits for individuals as well as from a business perspective of why you would introduce a 401k and offer that to your employees.
Right. So today episode we dive into a very, very popular topic. So if you employ, chances are you already have this plan in place. However, there's so many misconceptions surrounding this topic, and our goal in this episode is to demystify some of the common questions. So stay tuned.
So do you have any Valentine's Day special plans for today?
I'm taking my mom out.
Oh, that's lovely. That is very lovely. Yes, 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 yes. I'm scheduled to take a flight, so
Oh,
I guess I'll be passing love out at the airport on my way
right.
along my journey. Well, yeah, 401k, and it's so funny because not only on some of the shows this morning, the topics of finance and money. I don't know if you heard about this new app that's called Score that's based on your credit score. You have to have a minimum credit score of I think it's 675 in order to be on the dating app.
Oh,
And the founder's idea behind it is it's a way to introduce financial literacy into dating and couples conversations and all. So
oh, nice,
it's, yeah.
nice. I didn't know that even existed.
Yeah, yeah. So they've been doing a lead up promotion for coming up to today, and so it made the news cycle this morning. But anyway, more importantly, 401ks. What really is a 401k?
The 401k seems confusing. You do have question about how to invest your, contribution, when to withdraw your money, and how much should you be putting in. You're not alone. So millions of Americans don't fully understand all these common retirement plan, how it works. So today we're going to answer some of the questions. Can I use my 401k early? What happened if my 401k if I leave my job? If you're ready to retire before 59 and a half, what happened? Can I take a loan? Should I maximize my contribution? And what is RMD? Not a lot of people don't know what the RMD is. So we will jump into this later on. So I wanted to also go into a short history about the 401k plan. So Congress passed the Revenue Act of 1978. So basically, it lay a groundwork for the modern 401k, and by creating a tax structure around deferred compensation. So it was Ted Benna, who is also known as the father of 401k. And at the time, he was just a plan employee benefits consultant who interpreted the section of 401, the Revenue Act of 1978, and created the first ever 401k saving plans for his consulting company, the Johnson Companies, in the 1980. So the law actually went into effect of January the 1st of 1980 that allowed employees to contribute pre-tax and enjoy the tax deferred growth in that plan.
So the idea behind 401ks, it seemed though, was allowing employers another option, because before that, many times you had employers that had pension plans and offered different types of retirement benefits. But even as the Social Security program has experienced, some of those plans had been leveraged. And when it came time to retirement, some of those organizations didn't exist. So again, it was another way to create a benefit for employers to be able to both take a tax deduction on offering those
Absolutely.
plans, but it was not intended to replace what typically a pension or maybe a more well-funded retirement plan provided. And I think that that's also something that a lot of times people don't realize, is that the 401k is not supposed to be your total plan for retirement.
Right. It can be a part of your retirement planning. Unlike pension, these retirement plans like the 401k put more planning decision and responsibility on the employees rather than the employer. So pension, is different from the pension. And the higher tax bracket at the time when the 401k plan established was at 70%. So it made total sense to defer your tax,
Mhm.
right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's just it. Is a lot of times, the taxes fluctuate and you are not always certain what tax bracket you're going to find yourself in along your life cycle, along your journey. So it's important to, that's why it's so important to constantly evaluate where you are along the journey. It's not kind of a one decision made and then just forget about it and hope that that decision pans out in the end.
Exactly. One of the biggest misconception a lot of people think is 401k funds are tax free. It is not tax free. While you can contribute to the traditional 401k are pre-tax, but the withdrawals during the retirement years are taxable as an ordinary income, and you have to consider a long-term tax implication and explore strategies like Roth or Roth IRA or other creative strategies that help you to maximize your retirement incomes and also minimize the tax mitigation. Yeah.
Yeah, I think all of those things are considerations for sure. And again, that's why it's always important to look at your individual situation, with your team of professionals. I think that when you're thinking about, retirement, and especially in a time where people are living longer and longer, that it's important to look at all of your options and consider diversification. I know that I've encouraged people along the way to think about, if your employer, for example, offers you matched funds, then to definitely look at the benefit of gaining those match funds. Maybe that offsets some of the tax liability that you incur just by having those additional match funds. It might help preserve some of the principal, the gains that you have. And then on the flip side, again, as an employer, when you're thinking about how you're going to not only attract talent, but retain talent, oftentimes employees are looking for some type of program, some type of benefit program. And because these programs are typically managed by outside organizations, you have an opportunity to offer a program without having to take on the full responsibility and burden of that program.
Right. The contributions for the 401k typically make through payroll deductions. So if your employer offer a match, let's say 5%, depending on each company, they have different percentage of how much they match and vesting schedule. So you may want to find out exactly. You can go to HR and get these information. The match could be 5%. If they match 5%, you could probably put 5% to get the at least 5% of free money. Um, but also consider other goals that you have in mind that plan out your future. The maximum of 2024 amount that you can contribute to the 401k is 23,000. So it's up from 22,500 in 2023. And if you over 50, or older, the catch-up contribution is 7,500 more. So essentially, you can put in 30,500 into the 401k plan to defer that tax and grow it. But again, how much to put in is dependent on your goals and your objectives. So that is something that we can, discuss a little bit later. Um, do you want to add anything
Yeah,
else?
well, what about the portability? Because what happens if, it's interesting that you're saying if you're doing a catch-up plan because you're over 50 with an
Mhm.
organization, and what happens if by chance you leave that organization, say before retirement age, and you go to another organization, what are some things that you should consider about the portability of that particular 401k?
The nice thing is if you leave your employer, don't leave the money with your previous employer, because sometimes a lot of people put it away, sign up for a plan and forgot about it. I just talked to a friend last week, and she had opened a 401k with her previous employer, and she quit her job maybe about 10 years ago. And I asked her, do you have a 401k plan? She said, yes. When's the last time did you take a look at your plan? I don't know. She doesn't even know how much she has or how if the plan appreciated or losing money. So the thing is, it's something that you set up for a very long time, you forget about it. But this is something that it is your retirement money. It's very important. You put your hard-earned money into it. So make sure you find out exactly how much and where it is, and maybe you can roll it over. They allow you to roll it out when you're no longer with your employer, into a plan that safeguard that principle, and also have the ability to compound and gain when the market goes up, and protect that principle when the market go down. So there are strategies out there that allow you to do that, that protect what you have. So part of wealth protection is, or growing wealth is to protect what you already have, and also put that hard-earned money into work for you.
Absolutely. And some employers, as you touched on, are including Roth. How does a Roth plan factor into your 401k, or as a tool alongside your 401k?
The Roth is an after-tax contributions, so it's allow your money to grow. And when you withdraw, there's no tax liability on that side. So that's the difference between the Roth 401k and the regular traditional 401k. Most people would do the traditional 401k because it's pre-tax,
Mhm.
and you get the ability to compound that interest over the years. But just imagine, what you put in right now, 10, 20, 30 years later, that amount can be a big chunk of asset. It could be a millions or more, depending on how much you put in. But consider the long-term tax implication too, because right now the tax bracket sitting at the 37% highest, but in 2026 it may go up to 39%. And who knows in the future what tax bracket we'll be facing. So it's important that you take that into consideration, how to minimize that tax bracket when you decide to, take out your money at retirement years.
Yeah, and I think it's also to think about, not only your career life cycle, but your personal life cycle, right? Because at some point, sometimes earlier in your career, you have more tax deductions. If you have a family, if you have children, you have deductions. But by the time you're nearing retirement, perhaps you've paid off your home. So you may not have a mortgage deduction. You may not have dependents who are dependent on you. So you may not have those deductions. And so, as well, you want to consider what other options you have to mitigate your taxes. Not that you avoid taxes. No, we all are going to contribute to taxes, but you want to mitigate some of the tax liability and exposure, and make sure that you're contributing the fair amount in taxes, and not finding yourself overburdened, with a tax liability when you get to a time where maybe your income is more fixed as opposed to fluctuating because you've retired and you've planned out this type of set income stream, right? You want to have that income stream.
Exactly. When you retire, you have the income. It's called provisional income, and that could be coming from different sources, Social Security, your just regular earned income, and also the income from your 401k plan or other income from real estate investments. So if you add those all up and you have less deduction, that means your tax bracket is going to be pushed higher. So that is something that you need to plan out, take a look in advance and see what scenario you're going to be running in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, go ahead. I was just thinking that, also in addition to that, thinking about how to rebalance, if you will, your liabilities as well, because sometimes there are ways to reestablish your liabilities, but also making sure someone was sharing a scenario. It's sad when you hear a heartbreaking scenario of someone prematurely finding themselves with a chronic condition and having their career cut shorter than they anticipated. And so sometimes, when we're running, and I know any of us can be caught up in the what we say, the day-to-day grind of just trying to keep it all going. But it's important to take a pause and evaluate to just see, are there new decisions that I need to make? What kind of uh, resources are available? Because even you mentioned real estate. Real estate is a very important asset class that can be beneficial, but you must invest in the real estate, because if you don't invest in the maintenance of that real estate, you could find yourself in a situation where the real estate has not appreciated to its true value, because it does require an investment along the way. Just like your wellness, you invest in your physical wellness. Hopefully you should be investing in the wellness of the particular assets. And so I think that that's an important thing to consider. Is real estate may be one way that I'm diversifying. I think someone was saying to me the other day, I didn't see, but the impacts of the stock fluctuation, the market dropping, transitioning from a bull to a bear market, and how that then impacts value. So checking to see, where are your assets, if it is that you have money allocated to the stocks. If there's a loss, you only lose if you reduce the money at the time of the loss, right? But sometimes that's an opportunity to increase your holdings because the value has gone down in a particular organization, and maybe previously you couldn't own as much, but you know that it's going to go back. But you must have more of a longer term understanding of what's happening in the particular markets, because they're cyclical. And so that's why it's so important to have, a diversified strategy.
Right. I mean, for the retirement or for wealth building, you want to have a portfolio that well diverse, that has different type of, like you said, real estate, retirement, 401k, life insurance. A lot of people don't think about life insurance because, they think it's a cost. But it is not. It's there to protect you. And life insurance nowadays give you so much more. Like chronic condition that you run into, or you can getting very very sick that you no longer can work, who who is replacing that income for you, who's going to take care of you? And if you have 401k and you tap into that 401k plan, if you have a millions or more, or depends on what age stage you at, if you have a major medical expense, you have to access your money somewhere to pay for that. And I've seen a lot of people have a big chunks of money in 401k and get their fund asset basically depleted, just just going through a major operations or medical problem that they're facing. So it's important that you have some kind of protection that help you to cover for chronic illness, critical illness, or terminal illness even. And life insurance nowadays have all of those riders that help you to mitigate and protect yourself and protect your family. So it's important that to consider that part of your planning. And also, if you get sick, you need to get funds somewhere to pay for your medical bills. Can you use your 401k early? You can. You can access the 401k early, but however, you have to consider if you take the money out before 59 and a half without qualifying exceptions, you have to pay 10% IRS penalty
Wow.
on top of the tax. So we're talking about could be 30 or 40% that taken away before you can access that money. So it's important that have that in mind before you're planning out what kind of plan to incorporate into your strategies, your lifetime planning.
So what might be some, if we were saying the focus of what would be a couple of, tips around, in summary, if you will, of how we would play with our 401k as part of an overall strategy for well-being, long-term financial well-being?
It depends on what stage you are. If you're ready to retire before 59 and a half, you can withdraw the money, but you have to be at least 55 and no longer work with your employer when you withdraw the money without penalty. And then, there are ways to do that. And you can take out like the 401k loans, which allow you to take out a loan, but you have to be careful when you're taking out a loan. It's not always the right decision for everyone to do a loan because you compromising the growth, the compounding interest when you're taking out that money. And the loan could be, as much as 50,000 or less, or half of the account value, basically. So those are the things that you may want to consider to for your plan. Should you max out your 401k plan? A lot of people have a question about this because, they don't know any other plan to save money. They want to max it out and they think, if you put it in pre-tax now, you save a lot of money. But if you max it out, let's say you put in 30K a year or 20 for 2024, it's 23,000 a year. You have to consider, before doing that, you have to look at the big picture and make sure you have all the areas covered. Like, do you have a high interest credit card debts? Right? You want to pay that off ASAP because that will cost a lot. Do you have you built an emergency fund with 3 to 6 months of living expenses? Do you have adequate health insurance? Do you have, are you married? Do you have children? Do you have adequate life insurance? A lot of people don't have life insurance or having life insurance, but not enough to cover. Typically, you want, life insurance to have at least 5 times your annual income. So let's say if you're making 100,000, you want to have at least 5 times of that 500,000 coverage, just in case if there's anything happen, then there is a fund that you can access for an unexpected events. Have you created trust? Do you have disability insurance? Do you have long-term care? Long-term care is the biggest. A lot of, again, going back to life insurance too, a lot of insurance or annuities now offer riders that help you to manage, the long-term care or chronic care, which is similar to the long-term. So in general, you want to, before maxing out that matching or maxing out that contribution, consider all these, things before you do that. And also, if the company offer a matching from the company, just go for it. But it's, but to maximize it, there's a lot of things that you need to sit down and reconsider. Yeah.
And I think also a lot of times people don't consider, again, since we are living longer, a lot of times when people get to retirement age, although they may transition out of their career, oftentimes they have a business that they've considered or contemplated, and they decide that they want to explore moving into business. That's a great opportunity to explore and learn about possible business opportunities, entrepreneurial ventures, because I noticed when you're talking about credit card debt and some of those other things, that if you're carrying them personally as a liability on your personal balance sheet, but if you have a business, a lot of times, really, some of the expenses that you begin to incur to establish that business would be tax deductible expenses when you have a business, so it's different from being an employee to being an employer yourself. And so understanding that as an option as well, I've seen a lot of people transition out of executive roles and then decide that they want to launch a speaking career, and that's a business. But if you structure it as a business, then you'll find sometimes partial deductions for things like the use of your vehicle, all of the different expenses that you need to incur for the business. But it's all about setup. And that's what I'm finding, is that a lot of times people, because they're unfamiliar, they treat their entrepreneurial interest like their employee relationship. And before they realize it, they really have made a lot of poor decisions about how they've allocated their resources towards that venture, when in essence, that could have served as another expense deduction, as well as a way to, move some of the liabilities off of their personal balance sheet.
Right. It's all of those things that you need to consider. Like, even if you continue to contribute the maximum amount allowed to the 401k plan, will you have enough in your retirement nest egg? So there are many calculators online that you can use, but the most basic one is you want to calculate at least 25% 25 times of your annual income need, including taxes. So for example, if you're making 100,000 per year to maintain your lifestyle, and your Social Security benefit is about 30,000 a year, so you need at least 70,000 per year from investments or from other retirements to make it last. So if you take 25 times 70,000, it's equal to about 1.75 million in the retirement nest egg to support you over the course of 30 years after retirement. So depending on your current age and ability, and how much you can save, you may and may not be on the right track to contribute to your 401k only. So that's why it's good to consider other creative options that give you protections and so also grow tax-free, because the 401k is not tax-free when you take out the money.
Absolutely. It's amazing. Each time we get together and we have these conversations, I think that it's a reflection of, passion and interest in just our own, journeys, but also being aware of some of the things that we've seen, the stories we hear. And, that's why we get here. That's why we join every week to have this conversation, to talk about what we've seen and, going through different experiences, because if we can be proactive, there are options. It becomes difficult sometimes when you find yourself in a situation where a little bit of planning, a little bit of foresight, could have helped. And so there's no shame in not having all of the answers. You're not going to have all of the answers. None of us have all of the answers, but the best you can do is at least have an interest, and then look and validate the information as it relates to your unique situation, because there's not a one size fits all solution. You want a team of professionals to help you look at your unique situation and make some right decisions about your well-being.
Right. One of the last thing that we want to touch on is called required minimum distributions. Not a lot of people know what this is. You contribute the money into the 401k and let it grow, but you cannot keep the retirement funds in your account indefinitely. At one point, you have to take it out, and it's required by law. So you generally have to start taking withdrawals from your 401k, your IRA, symbol IRA, or SEP IRA at the age of 73. Or 72 when you reach, December 31st. So RMD is due on the 31st of each year. And you have an option to delay your first RMD until the April 1st of the following year. And the one of the most important consequences of not taking RMD is you can get taxed 50% of the remaining amount if you
Wow.
don't, a penalty if you don't take it out on time or getting access that money. So it's important that you keep that in mind, because there are a lot of people that contribute to the 401k when they have 1 million or 2 millions. At that point, they still continue working, and they don't want to take out the money because that will increase their income tax bracket, and you have to take it out. Otherwise, there's penalty for that. So please talk to your financial advisor or financial professionals that can help you to navigate through these requirements.
Absolutely. Well, as usual, it's been a great time sharing and having this conversation. We look forward to you coming back again. We'll be here again next Wednesday, 10 a.m. Pacific. And have we thought about what we're talking about next week? I think we're going to get close to talking about one of my favorite topics pretty soon.
Soon, yes. Well, thank you for tuning in and be with us today. And as usual, we are here, every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. Please join us weekly. And we encourage you to take care of yourself and your loved ones, especially today. And, if you have a plan in place, we recommend reviewing it and updating it to make sure it is the best for you. And, have the most wonderful day. Enjoy your Valentine's Day.
All right. Until next week, be well.